Today you're going to need your practice journal, so you'll need to turn to page 93 in your practice journal. And we're going to go ahead and read through this activity and work through this one together. It says, each year in the Columbia River Basin, adult salmon swim upriver to streams to lay eggs and hatch their young. To go up the river, the adult salmon must use fish ladders, but to go down the river, the young salmon must pass through several dams. There are electric turbines at each of the 8 dams on the main stem of the Columbia and Snake Rivers. About 88% of the young salmon pass through these turbines unharmed. We're going to complete the table that's shown below. So let me scroll down so we can see the table a little bit better. Okay, so when we talk about these electric turbines, it's kind of like a big fan that's actually moving water. So as the salmon have to pass through those, some of them are injured and die. But 88% of those young salmon survive, okay, about 88%. So we're going to go with 88%. So to go through and work through our table, we're trying to figure out, using what we learned from last section, we want to figure out 88% of the number that survived. Okay, so we start out with 1,000 to begin with. So we're going to put 1,000 in this spot. Okay, so 0.88, remember we have to change our percentage to its decimal form, times 1,000, because of means 1,000, gives us the 880 that I have here on the table. Okay, so now we're going to punch in 880, and we just keep changing the amount of salmon that survived. So now this will be 880 times 0.88 gives us 774. This is what I can see on my calculator, 0.4. So take note, we can't have 0.4 of a salmon. So we're going to go ahead and say it was 774 salmon. Okay, so now we'll continue with the 774. Okay, so 0.88 times 774 gives us 681.12. So once again, we want to work with whole salmon because we can't have 0.12 of a salmon. So we've got 681 here. Okay, so what I would like you to do is continue working this pattern and finish out the table. So go ahead and pause your video and finish working out for dams 4 through 8, and then start the video back up to check your answers. Okay, so as you worked through that, you should have ended up with the numbers or something close to the numbers that I have for mine. If you're not exactly on, it could, if you're off by 1 or 2, it could be that you didn't round correctly. So as you worked your way through, all the way going through 8, it could have thrown you off by more than just a number. But as long as you have something around these numbers, we can see that we had about 360 approximately salmon that ended up surviving. It was 359 is what I had in my last box through the last turbine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and graph that information. Okay, so we have to make sure that we're paying attention that each of these numbers along the bottom are representing our dams, and then our numbers or our bars are going to be representing how many salmon survived each of those dams. So as we work our way through, we started out with 1,000 salmon, and that's what our first bar represents, that 0 dams, we had 1,000 salmon. So after they went through dam number 1, we ended up with 880. So we're gonna go over to our 1, and we're gonna create a bar that goes up to 880. Now the thing is each of these lines is representing 200. Okay, so 880 is close to 900. So we could go a little, I'm going to change this and go a little bit under halfway, because 900 would be about halfway up this set of bars here. Okay, so 880 is going to be a little underneath that. We're not going to get it exact. Okay, so there we have our 880. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and go over to dam number 2. We had 774. So that's a little under 800. So we'll go, this is our 800 line, so we'll go a little under that. Oops. And create our bar. Remember, each of those spaces is worth 200. I'm going to erase just the top part of that. Okay. And then at dam 3, we had 681. So that's close to a little under 700. So a little under halfway, because this is 800, this is 600. So about halfway up, a little under. And as I said, you're not going to see a perfect number. Okay, so now what I would like you to do is finish out graphing out your last 4 through 8 bars, and then, so pause your video and then check your bars and just when you're finished. Okay, so your graph should have ended up looking something like this. Notice that as we went from 0 through 8 years, our bar diminished all the way going down every year. Every dam we lost more and more salmon. So now let's go ahead and just discuss out what this is really representing. So it's representing that we had 88% survive each dam, but it didn't end up being 88% of the total fish, because in every situation it dropped 88%. So let's figure out what percentage of the fish actually survived. So when we look back at our number for our 8th dam, we had 359 salmon that survived. Whoops, and then I'm going to write an 8. Out of, we originally started with 1,000. Okay, so if we were to go ahead and change that into a percent, well, we'd have to change it to a decimal first. So we're going to read it as 359 divided by 1,000 on our calculator. And that gives us 0.359. So now if we change it to a percent, we're really going to go over 2. It's about 36%. Okay, so no, we didn't end up with 88% of the salmon surviving. It was 88% surviving each dam. So notice that really over those 8 dams, we only ended up with 36% of those salmon surviving from between the first dam through the end of the very last one. That's not a huge survival rate, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and move on